What's up, Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a concert review of Rich Brian's Where Is My Head tour. I saw Rich Brian at the House of Blues in Boston, and I've been hotly anticipating catching Brian live because I've been a fan of his since a long time. I've been a fan since Dat Stick 10 years ago at this point, but I've never been able to catch him live because by pure chance, every time he goes on tour, I'm always on vacation and not around when he comes by. Therefore, of course, I was very happy to finally catch him. I was surprised at how not sold out the venue I was at was, given Brian has a long career at this point. He's obviously pulled huge crowds when he's toured around the world, just all over Asia with this tour. Looked like the crowds in China were crazy big, for example. He's played at Head in the Clouds with 88 Rising many times. Of course, now him and Nicki are the two biggest artists on 88 Rising at this point, with Joji's departure, of course. I would have thought that he was going to get a bigger crowd, frankly. Also, in Boston, large Asian population, large student population. I just would have expected more people there, for midweek show Thursday night, but didn't happen. But everyone there was really into it. I thought it was a really good crowd. And Brian definitely impressed me a little bit with how he, went through his show. He was there basically on his own, right? No hype man, no DJ, really just someone playing the next track. Nothing involved. Visually, there's a wall behind him of these security cameras put up that have lights on them, but no video wall, nothing. Very, very sparse for sure. Kind of DIY, kind of lower budget than I would have necessarily expected, but he definitely rocked with this kind of minimalism. He busts out the electric guitar at one point, he jumps on the keyboard at another point and does kind of an acoustic, tiny desk, as he puts it, rendition of a few of his songs, and kind of levels that energy pretty nicely between his bangers, his really rap-heavy songs, and then, the other side of his career, whereas he's branched off and done a bit more of an R&B lean, certainly add a lot of singing to his songs, with stuff like Drive Safe and 100 Degrees, for example. For the most part, he's also not using a backing track, which of course is a great sign for any rapper performing live. I did think we heard the extent of Brian's vocal range when he was performing Little Ray of Light live, of course. The vocal strain was noticeable, but he's going for it, and I have to give him credit for that. History, I love the way he started that off on the piano. I love that song. I thought he performed it great. That was, I think, one of the best moments of the whole show. I did think the mix, at least, in my specific instance, the mix on the chorus was a little off. I thought the bass was just a little too tuned up. That was probably just a venue issue. Time zones from the new album, I think he did that. He actually kind of expounded upon the fact that is, in fact, a true story, and those are quite, revealing bars as he goes into them, as when we first heard on the album. I also liked how he called out over the course of the show people who have been a fan of his since 2018, 2017, eventually getting to 2016. It's kind of cool way to introduce the songs and also reveal people that were a fan of his for a long time. Of course, I was very happy to yell out when he was teeing up Dat Stick and mentioned 2016. And as he said in the show, Brian had been playing Dat Stick for a while, and he's brought it back on this tour. Of course, Dat Stick, back when Brian went by a different name that he has since retired and, put forth a more mature and professional artistry. But that song is still a banger, and that song still performs well and has high streams, some of the highest streams for Brian's career, right? It was cool to hear that. I was really happy to hear that as a longtime fan of his, that being the song that introduced me to Rich Brian and introduced me to 88 Rising as a whole. I think a lot of people kind of take for granted what kind of institution 88 Rising is as an independent record label with a focus on Asian and Asian American artists, of course. But, but back in the day, 88 and, the label head, Sean Mishihiro, was a lot smaller back then. It was a lot more DIY, a lot more viral marketing and things like that. And Brian was a big part of that. And it's just kind of cool to go full circle. I've actually now seen both him and Nicki. I was able to catch Nicki last year talking about that show, and I saw that as well. I've always wanted to go to Head in the Clouds, but they've only performed on the East Coast once, Head in the Clouds in New York that one time, which I regret not going to because XG performed there, which would have been super cool. But nevertheless, I think it was a good show from Brian. He played all the the big hits, right? Dat Stick, History, Serpents went really hard off the new album. Drive Safe, 100 Degrees, Glow Like That also hit really hard. Edamame from BB No Money with his feature. Also played that, one of the biggest hits of his career. That was fun. And then when he jumps into the encore, he gets Get Your Mans with Warren Hugh, Dat Stick, Midsummer Madness off the 88 album, and then ending with Jelly Air Island. Obviously, really happy to hear Get Your Mans. I really wanted to also hear New Tooth off that 1999 EP. I was disappointed to not hear that, frankly. I thought that song, the way that song works, would have been an awesome way to open the show. I know he's performed that in the past. That was the one song I really wish he had played. But overall, really happy with the show, really happy to see Brian. And, I think his career is continuing to be very interesting and certainly unexpected given the humble beginnings and of what Dat Stick was. And, I think Where's My Head, that's an album that definitely was interesting and had stuff I liked about it. And I think he's an artist that has become a little bit more unpredictable than I would have imagined. And I will continue to hold my breath and cross my fingers that Higher Brothers will make another group album, whether with 88 or on their own, and I would love to see them on tour. I actually have incredible FOMO about the one time Higher Brothers was in town back in 2017, when Black Cab came out, that debut EP, and I didn't go. And that ended up being my only chance, really, to ever see them, apart from they just had a reunion last year, Head in the Clouds. I really hope Higher Brothers can come back in truth and in earnestness. That's what I'm rooting for. But let me know if you've seen Rich Brian in concert. What have you thought of it? If you're a Rich Brian fan, let me know what songs you like of his. And for more music reviews and concert reviews for the concerts I go to, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.